All right, we're just getting some news into the newsroom, Anne-Marie, that the Ponzi schemer Bernie Madoff, you'll recall Bernie Madoff, who was sent to prison for participating in a Ponzi scheme where he ended up bilking hundreds of investors out of millions of dollars, has died in prison at the age of 82. We are still chasing the story. This comes to us from the Associated Press, but the Associated Press, again, reporting that Bernie Madoff, the well-connected investment advisor who was convicted of running one of the longest Ponzi schemes in U.S. history, has died in prison. He was 82 years old.
Yeah, in fact, we know now that, sorry, Vlad, the CBS News is also confirming that. And, we'll point out that I think it was last year his attorneys argued that he should receive some sort of a compassionate early release because of the COVID pandemic, because they argued that he was in the late stages of renal failure, and that request was denied. And I believe in terms of the cause of death, we don't actually know yet. It may have been listed just as natural causes, I think that you said in the report there. So we don't know if it was COVID related or not, but there was an attempt to get him out a little bit earlier.
Yeah, a court-appointed trustee recovered ultimately about $13 billion with a B dollars of the estimated $17.5 billion that investors put into Bernie Madoff's businesses. It's up to the courts. It was up to the courts to decide whether or not to release him. But I know at the time that there were people that I knew who had lost their entire life savings because of their faith and their trust and their confidence in Bernie Madoff. And when you look at that number, $17.5 billion, that represented for many people the generational wealth that they had accumulated over many, many, many years. And ultimately, when the news broke that, in fact, Bernie Madoff was not some smart investor who had figured out a way to make more money than his competitors, and in fact, it was a Ponzi scheme, that he was essentially a crook, which is what he was convicted of, that didn't leave any kind of, for those folks who lost all that money, justice was done, but they were still really in dire straits.
Right. There's no way to make many people whole. There was no way to make many people whole, not to mention the trust broken.
Exactly right.